Good afternoon, everyone. From the IBD Newsroom, welcome to Stock Market Today. On today's show, we're going to take a look at a down session for the stock market. Small caps took a big hit, and we're also going to take a look at three stocks, Alibaba and CyberArk, ahead of earnings next week, and also a look at a pretty solid earnings report from Uber. But first, let's take a look at the major averages and see what the market did today. Ken Shreve, along with Ed Carson. Hello, Ed.
Good morning. Good afternoon, I guess.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it's a long day. Okay, so we had. Let's take a look at what the stock indexes did here. We mentioned small caps taking a big hit today, down 1.2%. Looks like the Russell 2000 is close to the 50-day moving average again. Dow down about 1%. S&P 500, Nasdaq down 0.5% or so. And I think we're going to take a look at an index chart here. And Ed, a lot of headlines today. We saw some selling in the afternoon, but overall, just a little bit of consolidation here. Pretty good jobs report. Give us the news.
Yeah, the jobs report, 225,000 jobs. That was well above expectations. Wage growth picked up. The market fell back a little bit here today, but you can barely see it really when you consider how powerful a rebound we had. There was a report that the Fed is, acknowledging that the coronavirus could in fact impact the economy, which is just basically, well, yes, of course it is. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's really could be negative. The market really sold off the last two Fridays as the coronavirus outbreak was developing, but now that cases potentially are starting to top out in terms of the daily increase. Today's action was much more mild. Markets are at highs. There wasn't too much damage on any leading stocks, unless there was really specific news.
Yeah, and it was actually a week of solid gains for the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. I think both of those indexes ended with gains of better than 4% for the week. So pretty good week, some mild selling today, so we'll take it. We did see money flow into to bonds as well. That 10-year Treasury yield is down back below it's around 1.58% now.
Yeah, even with the strong jobs report, it's sort of interesting. The bond market seems more worried about the economy than the stock market, so that's a little interesting divergence there.
Yeah. All right, well, let's take a look at some individual stocks. We'll start by talking about a pretty good earnings report from Uber. I was talking with Ed earlier. It seemed like several quarters the market's been kind of disappointed with all the businesses this company is in, but finally they come out with fourth quarter results that the market liked quite a bit. What were some of the highlights of the report?
Well, they had better than expected, a smaller than expected loss, accelerating revenue growth, bookings were strong, but I think what really turbocharged the stock is the fact that the company says, well, we're going to be profitable, at least on some kind of an adjusted basis, in Q4 2020, and they were supposed to be profitable in 2021, so this is a really nice. That's what people want to hear. They want to see, okay, yes, you generate a lot of revenue, but is there actually a path to profitability? And it's like, yeah, it's not just a path, we're almost there. So, you can see it cleared. You can see there's sort of a little handle there, right there. You don't see the whole base. This handle is actually slightly below the midpoint of the base. The midpoint of the handle, the midpoint of the base, so it's not technically valid. We don't do that because of overhead resistance, and this base is really deep, so that is an issue. Yeah,
it was kind of a hard chart to interpret for technical investors. Obviously, you could call today a breakout, but this is a breakout just from kind of a flawed pattern. But give Uber credit for a really nice earnings report. Okay, we got a really busy week of earnings next week, so we want to take a look at Alibaba, which is really one of the big China leaders. It's showing pretty good action after a breakout, testing support at its 10-week moving average. And we're going to hear from Alibaba next week. So what's going on with Alibaba, Ed?
Well, Alibaba came down pretty hard with a lot of China stocks. Obviously, the coronavirus is not just the coronavirus, but it's really cutting down, in purchases during the Lunar New Year and continuing on. Suppliers are being disrupted. There's a lot of production delays, so that could affect things, maybe for weeks and months ahead. But the stock came down, but it rebounded above its 50-day, and now this is a weekly chart, so this is a 10-week line. It came down today, but it held support at its 10-week line, held definitely above its 50-day line, so acting relatively well. I think when this Alibaba earnings report is, it's like how much is the corona outbreak hurting, and maybe give some idea of how is it affecting the consumer spending and broader economy.
Right. Well, investors are going to get a listen to Fed Chairman Jay Powell. He's going to be on Capitol Hill next week on Tuesday and Wednesday talking about coronavirus, monetary policy, and the economy. But right now, it seems like the market's attention really is focused on China and what impact it's going to have on growth, because the growth has been slowing in China in recent years, and there's worried that it could be a pretty material slowdown.
It's going to be.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on and take a look at our final stock, CyberArk Software. Lots of good action in the security software group. Software stocks in general still looking pretty good here. But we're going to hear from CyberArk next week. We had earnings from Fortinet. We're not going to talk about Fortinet today, but that one actually held in pretty well today, still holding support, and a lot of leadership in the security software group. So let's talk about CyberArk here.
Yeah, I will just also say there was a lot of negative reports. I mean, Fortinet did fall, but it did do okay. But there was Paylocity, Paycom, Twilio. There were some negative software reports, but the software group held up pretty well. And CyberArk is a good example. It tried to break out from a handle buy point. The handle's not super clear on this, but there was a shakeout day, so there's definitely some shakeout in this handle. Tried to break out, but it came back with some of those other software earnings, but held up reasonably well. I think the real issue for CyberArk is what's the 2020 growth outlook going to be? Because right now, the estimates are for 7% growth, and honestly, this is relatively high priced unless they provide stronger forecasts or a sense that there is going to be stronger growth going forward. That's going to be an issue.
Really going to be an exciting week of earnings next week. A lot of security software stocks, a lot of enterprise software stocks. We've got 3 leaderboard stocks set to report: NVIDIA, Dexcom, and also Tempur Sealy. So big week of earnings next week as well. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. As we do at the end of every Stock Market Today video, we want to let you know about IBD Live, a new broadcast that has started every morning. We go on air at 6:20 a.m. Pacific time, 9:20 Eastern, and Ed, you and I were on the show today. Why don't you give people just a kind of a rundown of what we do?
Well, we talk about the action of the overall market and trying to focus on leading stocks like Uber. I mean, if you actually want to take a look, if you're not subscribed, well, you can actually see what we discussed on Uber. We actually have a story and a video just talking about Uber today. I think that may be on our homepage right now. So, but it's definitely it really gets you a head start of really the big action of the day. So.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And we also have a webinar we want to report. Matt Galgani and Amy Smith going to be doing a webinar on Thursday, February 20th, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2:30 Eastern, the CanSlim Investing System. Both Amy and Matt are great at webinars, so be sure to tune in to that. It's another freebie, as are most of our webinars, so be sure to check that out. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today. Hope you had a great, profitable week, and we will see you back here on Monday.